Walk outside right now and stand at the edge of your driveway. Turn around and look back at your own grass. There it is, that crusty brown island sitting in the middle of your yard, the one that showed up out of nowhere a few weeks back and has been spreading ever since. Maybe it's shaped like a kidney bean near the sidewalk. Maybe it's a dozen little scattered patches instead of one big one. Doesn't matter. You've dragged the hose out there every evening. You've thrown down fertilizer twice. You've probably even talked to it, told it to just grow already. And it hasn't moved an inch. Still crunchy? Still the color of a paper bag? While the grass 6 feet away looks fine. Today, I'm handing you a 2-ingredient pour that costs less than a candy bar, and inside 2 weeks, that same crunchy patch is going to be pushing up green blades again. But before I hand you the recipe, you need to hear one thing. Because if you skip it, the pour will fail on you, and it won't be the recipe's fault. Almost everyone staring at a brown patch right now is fighting the wrong battle. They look at brown, and their brain says dead, so they reseed dead grass, they drown dead grass, they panic fertilize dead grass, and none of it takes root, because here's the part nobody tells you. Roughly 8 out of 10 brown patches you'll ever see in summer are not dead at all. They're asleep. Grass has a built-in shutdown switch. Once the air stays brutally hot for several days straight, and the ground underneath dries past a certain point, cool season varieties like bluegrass and fescue pull an emergency move. They stop pushing energy into the leaf blades entirely and funnel everything down into the roots instead. The top of the plant looks like it gave up. Underneath, the roots are just sitting tight, waiting for a signal that it's safe to come back up. Brown does not automatically mean dead. Write that down if you need to. Here's a 10-second test you can run before you do anything else. Walk over to the patch, grab a small clump of the brown blades, and give it a firm, steady tug. If it fights you, if the roots hold their ground, that lawn is dormant and very much alive. If the whole clump comes free with zero resistance, like lifting a loose rug off the floor, that section is actually gone. Go try it right now. Everything after this depends on which result you got. If yours held tight, what you're about to learn brings it back to full color in 10 to 14 days flat. No seed bag required, just reviving what's already alive down there. If yours pulled free easily, don't panic. I'll walk you through fixing that too further in this video, and you're still going to need the same pour as your very first move either way. So what's actually in this mix? Hold that thought one more minute, because if I just hand you a shopping list without this next part, you'll dump it on the lawn, get a fraction of the result, and think the method failed. I don't want you getting fraction results. I want the guy next door asking who you hired. The real reason a dormant patch refuses to bounce back on its own, even with regular watering, has nothing to do with fertilizer, and almost nothing to do with the amount of water you're using. The soil under that patch has turned into a raincoat. It started repelling water instead of soaking it in. Here's why that happens. When the top few inches of dirt bake completely dry during a heat stretch, the organic material in there physically changes shape at a molecular level and turns waxy. That waxy coating wraps around every soil particle and makes the whole layer push water away instead of pulling it in. So when you're out there for 20 minutes running the hose over that brown spot, it feels like it should be working. The water is clearly hitting the dirt, but look closer next time you do it. It beads up on the surface like water on a freshly waxed car hood, then it runs sideways off the patch and soaks into the healthy grass next to it instead. The dry patch stays bone dry underneath, even while you're standing there actively soaking it. That's the entire mystery solved right there. The water is never reaching the roots. It physically cannot get through that sealed layer. You've been feeding water to dirt that refuses to drink it. And that's exactly the problem this pour was built to break. Here's the full recipe. 1 gallon of plain water, 1 tablespoon of ordinary dish soap, the cheapest clear bottle on the shelf, not the antibacterial kind, not the moisturizing kind. 2 tablespoons of unsulfured molasses, sitting right there in the baking aisle for a few bucks a jug. 3 items. Total cost is somewhere around 20 cents a gallon. Chances are both of these are already sitting in your kitchen cabinet. Stir it in a bucket until the molasses fully disappears into the water. Load it into a watering can or a hand pump sprayer. Now here's where most people mess the whole thing up. Do not mist this across your entire yard like a spray-on treatment. Do not lightly sprinkle it over the patch and walk away. That does almost nothing. Instead, plant your feet directly over the brown section, tip the can, and pour the whole gallon slowly, right on top, taking about 2 full minutes to empty it. Let the ground drink it in. If puddles start forming, pause for half a minute, then keep going. You're not fertilizing anything here. You're cracking open that sealed water-resistant layer. Here's the job each ingredient is doing. The dish soap acts as a surfactant, meaning it breaks apart the surface tension, holding water molecules together. Remember that waxy shell coating the soil? The soap molecules squeeze themselves between the water and that wax and physically shove the water through. It's the same trick that lets dish soap cut through bacon grease on a dinner plate. Grease repels water, soap forces its way through anyway, and the exact same fight is happening down in your dirt. 1 pour of soapy water can crack that sealed layer open within minutes, and suddenly water has a path straight down to roots that have been sitting there alive and thirsty this entire time. Now for the molasses, and this is the part that turns a decent trick into something genuinely powerful. Molasses is packed with complex sugar. Your soil is crawling with life, billions of tiny organisms in every single handful. Bacteria, fungi, microscopic creatures you'll never see. These are the workers running your entire lawn's underground economy. They break down old plant matter. They unlock nutrients your grass can actually absorb. They build the crumbly structure that lets soil hold on to moisture. But during a stretch of extreme heat, once the ground goes bone dry and seals up, a huge chunk of that microscopic workforce either shuts down or dies off completely. The whole underground ecosystem collapses, and even once water finally gets back in there simply aren't enough workers left to run things properly. Molasses is their fuel source. That sugar hits the soil like a jolt of energy for every microbe still alive down there. Within hours, you'll have bacterial numbers climbing fast. Within a couple days, the whole underground colony is rebuilding itself. Those microbes start chewing through that waxy barrier from underneath, while the soap is cracking it from above. They start releasing locked-up nutrients. They start rebuilding the soil texture that holds water where roots can reach it. So picture it this way. Soap punches a hole in the barrier from the top. Molasses rebuilds an entire workforce from below. And the grass, dormant this whole time but never actually dead, suddenly has both water and a functioning underground support system feeding it again. Here's the honest timeline, no sugarcoating. Days 1 through 3, you won't see a single change above the soil. All the action is happening out of sight. Water is finally reaching roots for the first time in weeks. The microbial population is multiplying, and root tips are starting to stretch and grow again. Days 4 through 7, the first hints of green appear. Nothing dramatic yet, just a handful of green blades poking up along the edges of the patch first, working their way toward the center over the following days. That's the plant's crown, activating and sending up brand new shoots. Days 8 through 14. This is when it really takes off. The green expands noticeably every single day. By day 14, most dormant patches have filled back in to somewhere between 70 and 90% green. Not a putting green, but a dramatic, obvious, undeniable recovery. I want to be straight with you here, because I don't do the thing where I promise miracles that never show up. This exact method works beautifully on dormant grass, brown but still alive underneath. I've personally watched patches homeowners had completely written off come roaring back inside 10 days. But if your test earlier came back with grass sliding free, roots gone, that section is truly dead, and this pore by itself won't resurrect it. Dead is dead. You can't wake something that already stopped breathing. What you can do is use this same exact liquid as step 1 before reseeding. And that's exactly what I'm about to walk you through, because this is the part almost nobody covers properly. If you've made it this far, go ahead and hit subscribe. I say it every time because I mean it every time. This channel is stacking up a full lawn care playbook, one video at a time. The soil pH fix, the weed treatment, now this patch repair, and next week we're covering mowing height mistakes that quietly wreck your lawn. Every video connects to the last one, and skipping one leaves a gap in the system. So subscribe, tap the bell, and drop a comment telling me whether your patch passed or failed that tug test. I genuinely want to know how many of you are dealing with dormant grass versus truly dead grass this summer, because that tells me exactly what to film next. All right, let's fix the dead patches. This is the fastest way I've found to fill bare dirt with new growth. Step 1. Apply that same soap and molasses pour exactly the way I just described, even on the sections that are fully dead. The soil underneath is still sealed and water-resistant, and seeds physically cannot sprout in soil that repels moisture, so you have to fix the ground before a single seed goes down. Everyone skips this exact step and then wonders why their reseeding never takes. Step 2. Give it a full 24 hours to work. Let the water break through and let the microbes start rebuilding. Step 3. Rake the dead grass completely out of the patch. Be aggressive about it. You want to expose actual bare dirt underneath. Old dead blades sitting on top will block new seed from ever touching soil. And seed that never touches soil never sprouts. Step 4. Scatter grass seed straight onto that bare dirt. Match whatever grass type is already growing in the rest of your yard. If you're not sure what type that is, grab a sun and shade blend. It covers almost every situation. Aim for roughly 15 to 20 seeds per square inch, which sounds like a ton, but grass seed is microscopic. A small handful stretches across a big area. Step 5. Dust a thin layer of compost or topsoil over the seed. Keep it thin, about a 1/4 inch. Thin enough that you can still barely make out the seeds underneath. That layer traps moisture right against the seed and keeps birds from picking it clean. Step 6. Water lightly twice a day, once in the morning and once in the late afternoon. Light misting, not a heavy soak. You're aiming to keep that top 1/4 inch consistently damp, not soggy, for a solid 10 to 14 days. And this part matters a lot. Stay off the patch completely. Keep the dog off it. Do not run a mower over it for at least 3 weeks. Brand new seedlings are unbelievably fragile. A single footstep can wipe out 100 of them at once. Stick to this process and you'll usually see sprouts breaking through in 5 to 7 days, depending on the weather, thin little green threads pushing up through the compost. By day 14, you've got a soft, fuzzy green carpet forming. By day 21, it's thick enough to mow for the first time. And when you do, set the mower height to at least 3.5 inches for that first cut. Here's the trick that blends new grass into old grass seamlessly. After that first mow, run the soap and molasses pour one more time, this time covering both the new patch and the surrounding older grass together. That evens the playing field. The new grass gets the same microbial boost as everything around it, and inside a month, you genuinely cannot spot where the old patch used to be. Now, let's address the question I know is sitting in your head. Dish soap on your actual lawn? Won't that hurt the grass? Fair concern. Here's the real answer. At the ratio I gave you, 1 tablespoon per full gallon, that soap is a tiny fraction of a percent of the total mix. More than enough to break surface tension, nowhere near enough to damage living plant tissue. Straight dish soap poured directly onto grass. Sure, that would strip the protective coating off the blades and dry them out. But diluted down to this ratio, university extension programs have recommended this exact concentration as a soil wetting agent for years. Professional lawn crews pay $40 a bottle for synthetic versions of the same wetting agent that a penny's worth of dish soap accomplishes just as well. Same trick, wildly different price tag, exactly like most of what the lawn industry sells you. One more detail on ingredients. Stick to clear, basic dish soap, no dyes, no added fragrance, no antibacterial formula, no ultra-concentrated version. The plainest, cheapest bottle you can find is usually the best pick, because fancy additives can leave residue sitting in your soil. For the molasses, go for unsulfured blackstrap. If your store carries it, it packs the highest mineral content and gives those microbes the most to work with. Regular molasses still works fine. Blackstrap is just a step up. Whatever you do, avoid anything labeled sulfured. The preservatives in that version will actually kill off the exact microbes you're trying to feed. Let me tell you what actually happened on my own lawn, because I ran this before ever putting it in a video. I had 3 separate brown sections. 2 were dormant, 1 was completely dead from a grub problem the fall before. I hit all 3 the same day with the identical pour, same ratio, same pouring method. The 2 dormant patches started showing green by day 5. By day 12, they were nearly fully recovered. The green was a shade lighter than the rest of the lawn at first. But by 3 weeks in, you couldn't tell them apart at all. The dead patch I reseeded on day 2 using the exact process I just walked you through. Sprouts appeared by day 6. By day 14, there was a thin but clearly visible layer of new grass. By day 28, it had fully blended in with everything around it. Total money spent across all 3 patches, somewhere around 60 cents in soap and molasses, plus about $4 for a bag of seed I barely made a dent in. Compare that to hiring it out. Patch repair services typically run somewhere between $100 and $200 per patch depending on size. 3 patches at that rate would have run me $300 to $600. I spent less than $5 total. And here's what actually bothers me about this whole industry. They absolutely know about wetting agents and hydrophobic soil. They use surfactant products on every single job they run. And they still charge you $200 using something that costs them roughly what your dish soap costs you. The markup is ridiculous. And it only works because most people never learn that a tablespoon of soap does the exact same job. Not you, though. Not anymore. Quick recap before you go. For dormant patches, 1 tablespoon dish soap plus 2 tablespoons molasses per gallon of water, poured directly and slowly over the patch, then give it 14 days. For dead patches, same pour first, then rake it bare, seed it, cover it thin, water it lightly twice a day for 2 weeks straight. 2 last things before I let you go. First, if the same exact spot keeps dying every single year, no matter what you do, that's not a watering issue. Something underneath is actively killing that grass on repeat. Could be grubs chewing through roots underground. Could be a buried rock or slab of debris blocking root growth entirely. Could be soil so compacted from foot traffic that roots physically can't spread. I'm putting together a full video on diagnosing exactly why a patch keeps coming back dead and how to permanently fix the actual cause. So subscribe so you don't miss that one. Second, drop a comment right now with how many brown patches you're currently dealing with. I mean it. 1 patch, 5 patches, your entire front yard. I want a real picture of how rough this summer has been across the country. And if you try this pour, come back in 2 weeks and update your comment with how it went. I'll be pinning the best before and after story I find. See you in the next one.